Good afternoon. At special request, we will sing Home on the Range.
Home where the buffalo roam, where the deer and antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word all day. Home, home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play, is heard a discouraging word, and the sky is not cloudy all day.
So happy birthday. 4,959.
Something like that. After Wally, it's hard to keep track. Right.
Your uncle rode Home on the Range?
Oh, my great-son, my great-great-uncle, who was a womanizer, wrote the lyrics.
Did everybody hear that? Her great-great-uncle, who was a womanizer. Now, why she had that? Wrote the words,
The lyrics, right?
the lyrics. So, we will start with Bob Cossey.
Thank you, Joni. Good to have everybody here today. We're going to talk about trivia night, and I'm going to kick it off by first, I put out on the table a trivia sheet for everybody to look at and try and play trivia on the Super Bowl. I don't know if you had a chance to do that. We're going to go real quick through this, see if anybody knows the answers. What year did the Chiefs play the Super Bowl for? 70. 1970. Who did the Chiefs play? Vikings. Where was the game played? New Orleans, Tulane Stadium. Okay. Which network aired the game? CBS. What was the final score? What was the final score of the game?
17-14.
23-7. Right, Brady. Okay. Who was the MVP? Len Dawson. Who did the Chiefs have to beat to get to the Super Bowl?
Oakland.
And who before that? Okay, they beat New York Jets, the reigning Super Bowl champions. By the way, the Chiefs were the first wild card team to win the Super Bowl. Let's see, who was the field goal kicker that kicked 3 field goals in the game? Jan Stenerud. How many touchdowns did the Chiefs score, and who scored them? I had to look this one up. I cheated.
Otis Taylor.
Phil Taylor scored it. Yeah. Otis Taylor scored it, and the other was Mike Garrett ran it for a touchdown. Mike Garrett and Taylor. The 3 Chiefs, there were several Chiefs. I'll just name the names of Chiefs who eventually were Super Bowl, were eventually Hall of Famers. Lamar Hunt, Hank Stram, Bobby Bell, Buck Buchanan, Curly Cope, Lynn Dawson, Willie Lanier, John Robinson, Jan Stenerud, and Emmett Thomas. Did anybody get all of them? Did anybody get more than half of them? Yeah. Okay. Was it?
Technically, Marcus Allen and Joe Montana.
Okay.
They're both Chiefs and they're both in the
Cool. All right. So, what does this have to do with trivia night? Who has ever been to a trivia night by the raise of hands? Okay, a lot of you have. It's a lot of fun. This is like one round of trivia night. And trivia night is, it's like a combination of 3 games: Jeopardy, a horse race, and Family Feud. All right? It's a collaboration versus a competition. You know, you work at the table with a bunch of folks and you try and answer a bunch of questions, and then there's a bunch of rounds, like a horse race. As the game goes on from one round to the next, teams kind of go ahead, who's ahead at the end of the game. And it covers about any topic possible. If you watch Jeopardy and you're a fan of Jeopardy, practically anything is game for trivia night, right? So you can imagine culture, religion, politics, science, arts, whatever. It covers all different ages and times. Ringers are encouraged. So when you put together a team, you really want a ringer. You want the smartest, broadest possible team you can get. If you have somebody who's really good at this, you definitely want to get someone like that on your team. And it's fun, it's energetic, it's a great time to spend with each other. You know, you may not remember, but we did a trivia night as a Rotary Club here about 15 years ago. It's been quite a while. We did one here, and I don't remember where it was, but it was fun.
Who won?
I don't recall. It wasn't me. Who's ever played the trivia night over at the public library? Has anybody done that one? Okay, that's a lot of fun, a lot of competition, snacks. It's a lot of fun. So I'm going to turn it over to Grace to tell you more about the details. Put on a calendar. This is fun. Grace.
So Bob got to do the fun part, and you can tell it is going to be a whole lot of fun. And I just want to give you some details about this. Some of these are on some of the details are on the papers on your table, but I can say them out loud as well. First of all, why are we doing this? Well, number one, we want to have some fun, and we want to showcase how much fun we can have as a group. We also want to educate the community about Rotary, so we encourage you to bring non-Rotarians with you. And it's a way to introduce prospective Rotarians to our club and to the fun that we have. And we want to raise a little bit of money for our club and our service projects and our foundation. We hope for at least a moderate success, no, a great success, so that we can make this an annual event. We can grow from this year. You know already that the date and time are Wednesday, April 1st at 6:30 to 8:30, doors open at 6 o'clock. There will be a cash bar available. This is going to be at Topeka Civic Theater. Cash bar available, and we'll have servers available to come to your tables to pick that up. A lot of this is still kind of in the planning stages, but we're thinking about having some extremely light snacks on the table, but we want to encourage you to consider bringing some treats or something or other, appetizers, to share with your friends so you'll all have great nutrition and be able to answer those questions. Tickets and sponsorship. Individual tickets are available for $15 a piece, or you may purchase a table of 8 for $120. Now, if you do the math, you'll realize you get no break whatsoever for that. However, you do get to choose your team, get the ringers in there, and hopefully win. We do have sponsorship opportunities available as well. There's a $1,000 sponsorship, and I could make up a name on the spot, but I won't because I don't know what to do. This will get you 2 teams of 8, plus you or your business will get some form of promotion out of that. If you have a sponsorship of $500, you will get 1 team of 8 plus promotion. If you are a table sponsor, that's $150, so that's a goodwill of an extra $30, and really, you might get your name on the list in small print, but it'd be a good thing to do. I'm sure you are all wondering if there are prizes, and oh yes, there are prizes. However, do not plan to pad your retirement account or hit the lottery because you won. This will be much more just fun and bragging rights, and probably the big winner will get something and the big loser will get something as well. Again, we're encouraging you to bring friends, have anybody come. We really want to just have a lot of fun. Go Chiefs.
So all of you that are helping with the trivia night, want to raise your hands so people can see how many people are working on it? How many are you thinking of coming on April 1st? Brady, raise your hand. Chris?
I think we have plans, but
You can break them. It's April Fool's Day. You can be there. You could be the ringer. Okay, great. Our cut money. This is our last day for the collection for the Midland Care Connections, Resources for Senior Resource Center. And then one of the reasons I asked people working on the trivia to raise their hands is because truly a successful Rotary Club is everybody doing a little bit to make it happen. And this past week, Tom Terrell, stand up, Tom. He's embarrassed. But he fixed the file cabinets in the office. Now, I don't know how many of you think that that's a big deal, but believe it. So thank you for making a difference. Okay. Marie will talk now about the fireside chats.
I know it's been mentioned in Joni's letter, and we've mentioned it a couple of times, but we are planning fireside chats. They are going to be near the end of February and going into March, but what my pitch is to you today, and what you would find on your tables, is we are looking for hosts. Hosts are people who invite Rotarians into their home or their place of business and welcome in for fellowship and maybe some conversation, maybe some beverages, light or hard beverages, but really it's all about fellowship and having a great time. So our minimum of what we're really looking for is at least 4 Rotarians who'd be willing to be hosts. I already have one. Mr. Steve Knoll and his wife have agreed to host on February 20th. So I've already got one, but we would like to have at least 4. So they're on your table. The coordinator for the fireside chats this year, in addition to Steve and I helping to shepherd it along, is Terry Hobbs. Hi, Terry. Yay, Terry's here. And so Terry's going to be the coordinator. So she's going to be the one that once we get all of the hosts going, we're going to have all the documentation going. She's going to be the one you'll need to contact to coordinate. We are not identifying particular days at this point when we're picking hosts, because we want it to be open enough for our hosts to be able to figure out what works in their life. So I believe our first one's probably going to be February 20th, and it'll go into March. We want to get it done before we hit spring break and everybody is moving on to other things. So please consider, it's a whole lot of fun. How many people have attended a fireside chat before? Okay, please look around at your Rotarians. If you've not been to one, please chat with them and ask them a little bit about it, because this is a wonderful opportunity to learn a little bit more about your fellow Rotarians. I have the honor of introducing Chris St. John, who is going to introduce our speaker.
All right, our speaker today is Vince Frye. Vince is the CEO and president of Downtown Topeka. He is also a past president of Sales and Marketing Executives of Topeka. He is a graduate of the University of Kansas and an honorary member of the Marching Jayhawks. He will talk to us a little bit today about Downtown Topeka, what's happening. Please welcome Vince Frye.
Well, good afternoon. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you again. And Chris, thank you. I am an honorary member of the Marching Jayhawks. I do not play an instrument, but I have marched in that alumni band for decades now, and been able to sneak in. That's how I march in there. So Chris is a drummer. He does a great job, so thank you. This is the third time I think I've spoken to the club over the last 5 years. The first one was to let you know about what was happening with regard to all of the private sector enhancements, the pocket parks, the arches, the statues, and all that stuff. The second time I shared it with Kurt Young and Pat McCalis to talk about the plaza, which is going to be completed in about 2 months. I took over as the president of DTI in 2012, and as I walked the avenue, I was astounded at the condition of our downtown. I think I've told you how disappointing it was to see, because I've always said a downtown represents a community's pride and prosperity. And certainly ours didn't look very prosperous. But a lot of downtowns all over the country were going through the same scenario. As people moved to the suburbs, malls were built, strip centers. That's why people quit coming downtown. So we were very fortunate in 2008 during the visioning process that downtown revitalization became a priority, and the rest is history. So what I thought I would do today is to kind of show you the progress that has been made over the last several years since the public and private sector came together and focused on downtown, and show you maybe some opportunities for the future of what downtown could additionally have. So let me grab this. Obviously, we're very pleased that the Cyrus Hotel has opened last year. Cody Foster bought the properties. In fact, we had almost 30 properties purchased on Kansas Avenue alone after the announcement that downtown was going to be a priority. And I don't know if you've been there yet, but it is a fabulous hotel and has great food, and I'm told is in great demand for people staying there. Notice the Harry Comery Pavilion over there on the right. The Pennant also opened about 1.5 years ago, right across the street. Great food, bowling, adult arcade, and a very, very popular place since it's opening. The Brew Bank, right across the street. This is the first of its kind in the state of Kansas. You can actually go in and pour your own beer. It was not legal until last year, and several of us went before the legislature and got the law changed that you could pour your own. You could pour wine, but beer was not an option, so the legislature changed that. This group won the Top Tank competition. You might have remembered that 6 local business people put up $100,000 for the best downtown business idea. And there were 60-some entries, and the Brew Bank was the top recipient and won $100,000, and they opened in the 800 block. The Iron Rail in the 700 block, the first brewery downtown, and I hope you've had a chance to try it out. Great food, great beer, and these 4 that I've shown you, or 5, well, let's add one more, 5. The White Linen in the old Columbian Bank building. Fabulous food, great atmosphere, but these 5 were all basically the investments and ideas of Cody Foster. And believe me, having someone local with the financial capabilities and the vision that he's had has made a considerable difference. How many have eaten at the White Linen? Wow, that's great, pretty good. He also has a speakeasy in the back of the Columbian building. Pretty cool. We have tremendous demand for residential living downtown. Every time a loft project is built, it's full or has people on a waiting list. These are some examples of lofts downtown. Beautiful facilities. I believe this is Dr. Carnegie, who is now head of Stormont Vale. He and his wife live down there. But the demand far exceeds our supply currently. This is the latest one, the St. Joseph Lofts. Mark Bernheide took the old St. Joseph School at, I think it's 2nd and Van Buren, and turned it into 11 loft apartments. They're all full. And it's very pretty at night. And of course, the Plaza. The Plaza will be opened officially April 29th with a ribbon cutting, which will lead to several days of festivities and celebration. And we plan to have a kind of a soft opening on the 14th of March, which is the St. Patrick's Day Parade. We figured there's going to be thousands of people downtown, so we ought to have something going on. So it's going to be very exciting. This project is another example of the public and private sector coming together to make things happen. I can tell you that when we wanted to have a plaza, we looked at many potential sites, and this one kept coming up as the number one, and it had been recommended by several consultants. But the owner of this property had quite an expensive price on it, and we had no money. And he eventually said, I'll sell it to you, but I will only sell it to Downtown Topeka Incorporated or the Downtown Topeka Foundation. And that really put us in a bind because, as I said, we had no money. So we were very fortunate that a local businessman saw the potential and loaned us the money. And we were able to buy that entire block of the 600 block. And now we're very close to it becoming a reality. I put this in because Chris Meinhardt knew I was speaking today, and he knows how involved our club is with the Constitution Hall. They are shoring up the facade program. In fact, I think it was finished 2 days ago, and very excited about that and our involvement, and it's a great addition for downtown, and Terry Hobbs is going to be very involved in the future of the Constitution Hall. So I wanted to show that, and if you have questions about that, Chris and Terry can give you more details. So this past year, we commissioned a market study for downtown, and a company out of St. Louis came in and spent several months talking to stakeholders and looking at our downtown. And they determined that over the next 10 years, our downtown could support another 900 residential units, 300,000 square feet of rehab or new office, thank you. Almost 700,000 square feet of retail, and another 200 plus hotel rooms. And so with that in mind, the city, Bill Feinder and his staff are working on a master plan to basically guide us for development of the future with this in mind as to the potential. And the market study showed that various districts in our downtown could support various things that would be more appropriate, such as warehouse and innovation districts and office areas. And they've defined these as River South, River North, Capital to River, obviously the Capital District, and felt that each one of those districts had a potential for specific development. And so the city and the planning department are working on a master plan, the first one in 20 years for downtown, that will lead our development going forward into the future. The master plan, if you want to follow along, is on this website, and it will be updated continually by the city as they add to their plan, which they hope to present to the community here several months from now. So that's kind of what's happened in the last year and a half, and I think you would agree that it's been pretty significant. Millions of dollars of investment in downtown. But there's more that needs to be done and can be done, and the potential is great. And I want to show you some of the opportunities that still exist. You probably saw in the news the other day that Wolf's and their buildings to the north are for sale and have been for some time, about 3 years. There is someone that is currently in the process of finalizing a contract on that with plans that will be pretty significant. Mike Borswick stated in his newscast that they don't know their future. It depends on the owner and what he wants to do with that. But they have been there for a long time, and certainly if the buildings are sold, we hope that Mike and Wolf's continue to be downtown on that corner. right next to the plaza on 7th Street. This old building has been many things over the years, but mostly it's been nothing other than an empty facade for many, many years. Cody Foster has purchased this with the intent of doing something significant that would support the plaza, whether it's a restaurant on the first floor, maybe offices on the second floor, even lofts on the third floor. So that will be just adjacent on 7th Street. And as you can imagine, if Cody's involved, it'll be a very quality project. Right across the street is what is now called the 7th and Quincy building. Ken Schmanke purchased this. It's empty, basically. The community federal credit union, I think, was in there. But he has big plans for that, and again, it's only steps away from the plaza. And I think we'll see some offices and maybe even lofts in there. You might remember the old Rhapsody at 8th and Kansas. Before that, you might recall that that used to be where the bus station was downtown. Again, Cody Foster owns it, has plans for a restaurant to go in there. There's one similar to it in Lawrence that I've eaten at. It will be unique, and I think people will really enjoy it. And hopefully that will open sometime this year. The old Merchant in the 900 block is going to be Ash Boutique. You all know of that. It's currently over there by Porterfield's. They are moving downtown and should be in within a few months. Across the street, Brendan Jensen and his wife bought this building, and they live above in a beautiful loft. But they are working on a franchise for another women's clothing store on the first floor, and hope to have construction started this spring. You probably, if you've gone to the Cyrus, you've seen this empty lot right on the corner of 10th and Kansas. Marvin Speece has owned this for many, many years. And there is a rendering of what it could be. And Marvin told me 2 nights ago that there is a developer out of Wichita that is coming in next week to talk about developing that into a multi-use facility, several stories in height. Many of you ate at HHB Barbecue, which is no longer in business, but Scott Gales, that owns it, has indicated that he has a contract with a restaurant that will be going in there hopefully soon. And many of you remember Ray Beers, it's called Tucker's, whatever, all the way down to the parking garage is sitting there empty, and it's owned by Jim Klossman. And Jim is finishing up a project with 29th and Fairlawn, about $100 million, and we're anxious for him to start thinking about what he's going to do with this. But I can tell you that he and I are good friends, and we talk all the time about some of his ideas, and they are going to be significant if and when he gets rolling on that. And that's a large area, obviously, with potential. 713 and 715 Kansas. Again, Jim owns that. And both are basically empty. 715 is where Visit Topeka has their visitor center temporarily until we move into the U.S. Bank building on the first floor. I think Jim has an idea of maybe putting in a coffee shop at 715. And 713 is where the pop-up store was for the M&M store, which was just unbelievable, the number of people went there. For years, I've been recruiting 715, the restaurant in Lawrence, to go in 715 Kansas. I'm still working on it. This building right here used to be where HHB Barbecue was until it burned. Randy and Deborah Clayton bought it, built that building. The Carnegies live on the top floor. They're building a loft on the middle floor, and they're looking for retail to go on the first floor. right in the middle of the 700 block, so another great possible location. And the law enforcement center. The market study showed that that area could be used for something a lot better than the police station. And I'm told that the police and the sheriff departments have been telling their employees that they will be moving soon. And this area very well could become another hotel, conference center, and right on Kansas Avenue. So great potential, but obviously that takes a lot of work with, well, I'm city manager sitting back there. Maybe I'll let him answer any questions you might have on that. Long way from that. The old Helmer Leather, iconic downtown location. It is now going to be an axe throwing location and bar. And so that will be interesting. They also plan to have a rooftop deck that will look right down onto the plaza, and will certainly be different. And there's already an axe throwing in Noto, but we're adding alcohol to it. So the office, right adjacent, catty corner to the Capitol. Outstanding location. It's sat empty for years. The owners have a price on it that has kind of kept people away from leasing it or purchasing it. There's some discussion from them that they might scrape it and build several-story office building there, which would be a great addition and improve that corner next to the Kelly Box. 823 Quincy, the old AT&T building. Jim Klossman owns this. It has sat vacant for at least 10 years, 10 stories high. There's been a lot of talk about it as a potential hotel, office, apartments. I think Jim's plan is to make it apartments and office space as soon as he can find the appropriate tenant to start the project. The problem with this has been parking, and it's interesting that Jim also owns the Kansan Tower, and there is a parking lot between the two, and his intent would be to build a parking garage that could be used for the residents of Kansan Tower as well as the potential tenants for this, and 823. And then the riverfront. You know, we have talked about developing the river forever, and we've had consultants come in recently. We have a riverfront authority that is working on it, and so this is the next great potential for downtown and Noto and connecting the two. So we're very excited about that. I will tell you, I did not add a picture of the post office, but as you know, that post office has been sitting there for sale. It did have someone that purchased it. However, their plans for restoration did not were not approved by the historic. It's the National Park Service that approves historic renovation. So they backed out, and it's back on the market. There's been an offer, but the postal system apparently doesn't think it's good enough, so it's sitting empty, but another great potential. So I just wanted to share where we have come successfully to this point, the great potential for the future. We are very pleased that the City Council last month approved a tax increment finance district, which we think will attract developers and investors to this area, as well as kind of an example of what can be done with TIFs throughout the entire city. So again, it's been 12 years since downtown became a priority. I think we've made great progress, but as you can see, it takes time, it takes money, it takes vision, and it takes the work both of the public and private sector coming together. So excited of where we are, but believing the best is yet to come. So thank you very much. I don't know if we have time for any questions, but
I have one.
You have a question?
Grocery store downtown.
Yeah.
Food market.
Well, I think I ask that question every time I speak. I don't think we're going to see the typical Hy-Vee or Dillons, but I do think that there can be a market that would be providing certain things that people, the essentials, but we need more people living downtown before we see any kind of development like that. And those grocery stores deliver, so regardless, wherever you live, they can get it. Greg, did you have a question?
Yeah, the docking building, the potential plans for rehabbing that, what effect do you think any of those would have on downtown development? And do you favor one option over another?
Well, it's too soon to know what the best option is. When they decided to move all of the employees out, I, along with Mayor Walgast and the city manager at that time, met with the Secretary of Administration to make sure that those employees stayed downtown. And we were successful there, and that was his goal too. My concern now is that they're in these buildings downtown, that they'll move back to the docking building, leaving a lot of emptiness. And that's going to be one of our discussions going forward with whatever plan that they choose. Chris?
I know at some point there was a discussion about, you know, this would obviously be considering that the building's vacant or something else is done. But the parking lot, the old parking lot for that docking state office building, that maybe that area could be turned into a big sports complex. Is there more than talk for that, or is there any kind of plans?
We have a lot of talk and a lot of meetings, but again, it all takes money, and we haven't quite defined where that money's coming from yet. And if they do take docking and repurpose it, that parking lot might not be available. So, Terry?
Yeah, is that old Walgreens, is that part of what Jim Claus?
Yes, Dollar General, Walgreens, whatever, it's been a lot of different things. Very good. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Vince, and as you know, we donate a book to Ross Elementary School. Please sign that.
Well, before you do, every time I speak, I ask the president of the organization to sign the book plate of my book for my library. So I'd like you to do the same thing when you get it.
It's a deal.
Okay, very good. Thanks.
Very good. I wanted to call to your attention that on the table is a flyer regarding a survivor's story. This is a woman that was human trafficked, and she spoke at Rotary International on human trafficking 2-3 years ago, and she is outstanding. So I encourage you, if you're interested, to attend that in Lawrence. Next week, we will not be here. We will be at the Topeka Public Library. So we'll look forward to seeing you there, and we will learn more about Washburn Tech there. With that, we will say the 4-way test and cheer the Chiefs. For the things we say or do, is it true? To all concerned, will build goodwill and better friendships, will be beneficial to all concerned.